don't know me, my name is Aaron Young, I'm the facilities director here in the county. I think I've met the majority of you in the room. Yes, that's me. This part of the presentation, they wanted me to do a PowerPoint, but I've made it a life goal never to create one, and so far I managed to survive with that. I'm not going to do it today, so I'll give you some handouts on the table. We're just going to kind of keep this as an informal session. If you guys want to drive it towards a certain direction, just let me know. But I'm just going to kind of cover basically from June on what we've done as a county, some of the things we put in place. If you have any questions along the line, just kind of stop and ask me. If you look at your handouts on the table, you've got two small packets. One of them is going to be a safety glass packet. That is technically from the 2015 IRC and IRDC, but I wanted to give you a copy of it because it does one of the better jobs of showing you the different scenarios of safety glass and where it is required and where it isn't required. A lot of the pictorial descriptions you see will kind of show you the all-in-one picture encompassing 50 different locations on that one picture, and it doesn't include the important ones that we all ask about. Does this window have to be tempered? But at some point, just read through it. It might be something you want to stick in your truck or car with you on a daily basis. I refer to it a lot because there's a lot of information in there, and it does break it down into a simple form because most of you know I'm a Clemson guy, so my IQ rarely exceeds 4 on an average daily basis, so I got to keep it simple to make it work for me. The second part of the stuff we're going to kind of go through today, until you just run me out of here, is the other packet is kind of the permit packet, the new stuff that we started in June. It's going to be a partial version of that. If you will flip to, I think it's the back page on your first page. Have any of you guys actually read what you signed? Typically, I didn't read it until last week to realize what was in there. There's a couple things in there on reinspection fees and things like that. We've typically had in-house inspectors for the longest time. It's come down to it's just me in-house now doing it now. We have brought in Hal and Bureau to kind of fill in those spots because I can't keep up with every single thing that we're going on. In the past, we've been very lenient on reinspection fees, and we'll kind of keep it in that same scenario, but if it's just blatant disregard for, the number of times that we've come out, just know that the reinspection fee does exist. And we don't want to pull the trigger and put it in place, but we'll do what we have to. We really have done it, but just be mindful that it's there when you call something in. Make sure the job's ready. It's ready to inspect. We'd love to see 100%, readiness on the job. We all know in the real world that it can't exist exactly like that. But that's what we're going to strive for, and we love to see when we get out there. The second thing we're going to go through is that little 6-month period. Technically, a permit becomes invalid after 6 months. There's some weird scenarios kind of happening right now that are driving, some questions regarding that. But if you look at your UDC, it actually goes into pretty specific detail that if you haven't started to work on that job, it hasn't commenced within that first 6-month period, technically it does become invalid. So what have we decided that is the initial starting point for that permit for not becoming invalid? It's because it's going to be the point where you call that first inspection in. Typically your plumbing or your footing inspection. You don't necessarily have to pass that inspection, but it does need to be called in. It does need to be a legitimate inspection. If we get out there and it's just a blank lot and you call in for a footing permit, it's kind of hard for me to say you've done any work on the lot, and that's going to create that little weird gray zone of what is considered to be started. So have the work actually physically started, please, in place and ready to go. A couple other things too for the BMPs and the subgrade verification forms. As we move more from an agricultural or acreage type product to a more rural type setting where we've got developing smaller lots, you've seen site plan requirements come in. It's really done to make sure what's being put into place is exactly what's put into place. We'll trust you 100% as far as that goes, but we will also verify that the stuff's there. So we really want to see where on the site these things are located. In the past, I've gone to look for some stuff and just the detail wasn't there to make an informed decision. I had a napkin as my permanent drawing of what was there, and that was about it on file sometimes. So I just need to see a little bit more information on stuff like that. Porta potties, dumpsters are required on site. How's it going to go through, a bit more detail than what I'm going to talk about on some of the local requirements. Nothing's earth shattering, nothing's earth breaking. If it's something new that you typically historically have been exposed to or required, at some point it may have been accurate that product was in place or that rule was in place, and over time things do change. And it doesn't necessarily meet the accuracy of the code today, so we'll ask you to kind of update those things. We all know that code is a constantly changing process, constantly evolving. If you don't see any changes in the field, you got to ask yourself, what are you missing? Because that code has changed, whether or not we've enforced it. The judge is still out there looking at what's the intent and regulation of the code, not what your local parent has told you can and can't do. So at the end of the day, that's the standard that we're kind of held to. We're going to expect to see that in the field too. Let's see, page, I guess, 3, we have to copy the reported plat. So your site plans that you turn in, one of the things I definitely look for is to make sure that the site plan matches the reported plat. Most of you use the site plan in conjunction with April's site to provide any kind of septic information, and it can overload the map a little bit, but that's okay. But more importantly, I want to see if there's anything that was on the original plat that's not being shown on that site plat. We really just want those to reflect mirror images of each other, so you're not missing something or find out something later on down the road should be required. Just make sure your recorded plat mimics what you're going to put on the site plat too, just pretty easy stuff. What else we got today? Subgrade verification point, kind of went through that. So when you're doing any kind of fill on a lot or that footing area, I've been out to cut lots before, not necessarily here in the past, where I pushed a road rod down the ground and just about hit the chin when I hit the ground. It was a really soft soil, so even on the cut lot, you can run into scenarios of having soil that's not ideal for building on. That's where we're going to ask you to come in as a third party to look at compaction, and it's ready to become available for what you're going to do with it. Floor plans, definitely want to see on the floor plans. Our septic systems are driven by a bedroom count. So we really want to see those floor plans identified and making sure on paper those bedrooms don't exceed what our requirement is on that septic side. Go to the code enforcement sheet, which is, I believe, the 4th sheet in your list. We went through a pretty heavy presentation earlier on our general requirements, things like that. Y'all are going to have a ton of questions. Most of you know that I come out of the private sector, so I'm going to hold more of a common sense approach to how do we regulate these types of things. We all understand that this industry is more so about time management than it is cash flow. The buying show sometimes. The time management part of these jobs is more important than anything. So if we ask you to do something, it's not just for the arbitrary sake of having to do a new piece of paperwork or get a new inspection in place. It's because it's actually needed. We want to make sure we're producing some of the best product that this region can possibly produce, and you guys are doing an outstanding job of it right now. We just want to see that moving forward too. What else we got to talk about? State water stuff, I'm not going to keep going on that stuff. Site plans we covered. So when it comes to what I call common sense approach inspections, if it comes down to something like you called in for a plumbing inspection and it's just raining cats and dogs that day, it's a little bit hard to determine if that pipe is leaking with its input and requirement on a rainy day. When you've got a plumbing inspection called in for that rainy day, just call and cancel it, put it on to the next day. I know, like I said, we're all under the time gun to get these things done, but you really just got to ask yourself, can you realistically do this inspection that day? If it's a completely sopping wet footing that's full of water that filled up from last night and you didn't realize it, that one's probably not ready to be inspected. It probably needs the next day so you can clean the mug out again. Just take a common sense, sit back to what's going on, and how it relates. We're a limited body count on what we can do and where we can be, and if you can help us just eliminate the scenario that may potentially fail or cause you a re-inspection, we'll be happy happy to, take that one off the list for today and then on to tomorrow if we need to. So whatever we need to do to help you guys out, just let us know. Maintaining a clean job site, that's a pretty big one. We don't have too many issues with too many dirty sites. Occasionally we get some trash going on with the neighbors. Just be a good neighbor and make sure that you're not throwing any trash around or blowing out of dumpsters. Part of that requirement on the dumpster is, wind blowing debris out of the dumpster. That can be an issue where you're the last house in the neighborhood and you've got some pretty vocal people that are right down the road from you. You get bags going into the yard. It's the first phone call you're going to get them. You'll probably be the second phone call. So just, take a standpoint approach from, how you be a good neighbor and get this stuff, out of other people's yards and stuff. This is a biggie. Clear the lot before you got the permits. Your permit is essentially your grading permit here on an individual lot basis. Right now, we have a few lots cleared prior to getting the permit. We really want you to make sure that you maintain that. Get the permit first and then start working on your lot. And that way we don't get into a lot of the issues that we might get into from the previous presentation, things like that. Third-party inspections. In some situations, we will allow it. What I really ask you to do is just call before you actually pull the trigger on the third party and find out why we need the third party. We'll do our best to get to you in a timely manner. I kind of look at the schedule, especially when it comes to concrete, and making sure those jobs kind of get pushed to the front when I'm doing inspections. Those are the guys that are waiting that $300 an hour truck. I really want to get those done before we get to, say, a rough inspection. So I kind of internally schedule and prioritize those jobs based on what the actual physical things being done. What else have we got? Changes to the code. We'll have some future changes coming up, things like that. But more so than anything, we wanted to try to start doing this type of class to give some kind of outlet and platform. If you guys have issues or if you got comments from the field, use this time to let us know, give us some feedback on how we're doing, the direction we're going in the county. If you feel like strongly, that something's out of place or out of whack, just let us know. Give us that information. We can't make informed decisions if we're kind of working in the dark. So use the opportunity to come and talk to us. I don't think there's anybody at the office that will ever turn you down for having that 5-minute, 10-minute conversation that needs to happen. Use the resource that's available. That's what we're here for. What kind of questions do you guys have? What do you guys want to see? What kind of format do you want to continue this type of environment in? What do you think so far?
Aaron, so you brought up about it's raining, you're not going to come do a plumbing inspection.
Well, not necessarily. Let's just say it's wintertime and it's freezing.
Sure.
You've got an air test on it. Yeah, you can air test in the rain. You can't exactly do a water test in the rain. That's a kind of a...
So
figure out how to do it?
if you determine, because if I determine, well, I don't think Aaron's going to want to come inspect this. I could be right, I could be wrong. But it seems like it'd be better for us if you determine that at the office, and then you let Liz know, hey, Mike had this on, I'm not coming today. And if she could just call and say, hey, he's not coming, then we're good.
Right, call here, however we need to work it. I mean, we'll figure out a work schedule. I don't want to get to the point where we're rescheduling every hour because it's just not efficient to do that.
Right.
But if you wake up that morning and it's just pouring cats and dogs and it's been doing it all night long, just call and get some inspection.
Well, it'd be easier for me, because you and I had this issue on a job.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be easier for me, if you're not gonna come, just move it to the next day. Rather than me having to call in and
But
cancel.
you don't
and
know
call
if
in.
the inspection passed or failed or if it was even done at that point.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, if Liz or somebody sends an email or calls and says, Aaron will not be there today, we got you for tomorrow.
We'll take a look at that system and see what we can get put into place. I'm sure there's a system that we can make manual and work with. Come talk to them, figure it out. Yes, sir.
We called in that inspection the day before, and we want to cancel it that morning, say it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, and you've already entered the building. I called in and canceled that inspection. Does that get relayed to you before you?
For the most part, we try to make that happen. If I get back, let's say worst case scenario, I get out there and fail, and you color it in, I'm not gonna count that, towards the failed inspection to go towards rescheduling fees. It becomes a little bit more work to keep up with that stuff, but like I said, it's a lot of common sense. I mean, if you're not doing boneheaded things, we're not looking at boneheaded things. There's gotta be more questions.
I got a question. I'm at Corey McElroy.
Yes, sir.
Who's doing the inspections we're plumbers, and are you doing them, or Atlanta Vista doing them, or who? Because in the past, I had a relationship with Russ, and I know what Russ wanted to see. And I'm not getting that same relationship right now, because I know, I'm not saying they're bad guys, but we're getting different guys coming through. And I know what his expectations are, but I shouldn't tell a plumbing inspector, or underground plumbing, underground in-wall, because I don't know what the southern gentleman's expectations
If
are.
you're putting the plumbing in according to the code, you shouldn't ever.
It's according to code, but on remodels, it's not always that simple.
I understand that. I'm being very general when I say that.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm doing, the front side, coating, footing inspection, and Al and Bureau are doing, from there to final. If you run into an issue where you think you failed an inspection and it's legitimately should have passed, all you gotta do is call that inspector and ask.
Well, that's the question. Are we gonna get a rotating group of inspectors, or are gonna be kind of the same guys every time?
Kind of talk about that a little bit more. Right now, it is a little bit of rotation, but we're gonna get some permanent things into place. So you should be dealing with the same person on a fairly regular basis. But if I'm sick, Hal's sick, his guy's sick, you'll have a small rotation in there, but Hal will talk about that kind of stuff in more detail into the slide presentation and stuff like that.
Aaron,
Yes.
is there any way we can work it to where, especially like on a rough end of a mile, with it being a third party, they're the ones doing that? And then if we request, say, a rough end inspection for tomorrow, I know y'all can't give us a definite time anymore, but y'all have our cell phones. Could that, we start having it where if we requested that inspector calls us and where we can meet them out there?
Yep. And Hal will go through a lot of that kind of stuff on maintaining the business communications. And I know we don't do in the past, we've allowed AM and PM, and we still have the ability to put that on there. We'll honor that request as best we can, but we'll get into the details of how he'll kind of address all that stuff in the most consistent form. What kind of things do you all want to see in this type of platform? Or do you all want to continue this in the future? Yes, sir.
You sound like you're pretty flexible and accommodating.
My wife and I are very glad.
Well,
I'm glad you did.
all permits, every builder here probably has cell phone, and when you're in Green County, the guy usually texts me, I'm headed your way. And then, an hour or two before, that would be really good, and then.
There's a lot of different ways to beat that horse. I'll kind of go over some of that stuff. As we go along and we get the program in place, the county's changing. It's kind of, a pretty big turnover when it comes to management personnel. We've got a lot of new guys in place. You got stuck with me now too, so we'll address, over time. If we need to look at a system that needs modification, we'll definitely look at that system and modify it towards its how it serves the best, and the largest number of the community members. So we're definitely open to discussion for sure.
Aaron, we've had on occasion where the environmental health would come out to the job because it was so thick, the whole road was so thick. How do you get around that with the grade and stuff like this? They want to site clear it out, but they can get it there. Stroll through there right there and fight the way you do.
I think you address that with your local guys and just find out what their internal requirements are. A lot of times, failed inspection or you have some miscommunication somewhere, your best path is always going to be just to pick up the phone and talk to the person that's doing it. Find out, if you have an issue, what the issue was. If there was a stopping block, what's the stopping block? If you passed, find out why you passed. And just keep an open line of communication with us and let us know, what's going on, what your needs are, whoever's looking at it, talk to that person. Nobody's ever going to not want to talk to you and just figure out, the best way to keep it forward. There's jobs that aren't going to conform to the standard. There's standards that are going to seem like they're outrageously required. We're going to have a cat and mouse game of anything we do, and just have an open line of communication and just talk to them. want to see or touch on, or any kind of,
Hey, I got some comment, not really a question. I think for me and my brother, we work in a lot of different counties, and I guess, everybody has a specific selfish concern about time and space. We work places where you don't get any time. You call it in, and really and truly, I can deal with that if I know about it up front. The problem I have is not knowing about what I need to do. I mean, this permit changing, finding out about this stuff, saying it's in the UDC somewhere. I mean, that's not how we find a permit's expiring. Those are the things that you just can't deal with in business because you can't plan.
well,
And so I'm just saying communication about what's going on.
our goal is to give you enough time to put that change into place. It's a part of why we're doing this, is to, give you some heads up on some stuff. We'll hopefully continue this type of format in the future, so if we do make big changes to the system, we give you enough time to get those changes put in place, and you're not just, held to that standard immediately, hopefully. But the goal is to do a better job of communication over, extended periods and things that come up, and just try to give you as much heads up as possible as we possibly can. Like I said, change is tough. It's never easy. You have to change systems. You have to change, a 5-minute change on paper might mean a 3 to 10 day change in the field sometimes. Our goal is just to give you enough heads up time that you can expect that change and modify the system and keep it fairly consistent going forward, so you know exactly what to expect versus trying to guess what to expect.
Well, like permits expiring at a different time frame than what they've been expiring. That's not a 3 or 4 day. That's like, it sounds like to me it's going to be like a 2 or 3 month process on that. Once I go through this EPD stuff
And that one,
that's not something.
Sure.
Typically, what we have seen with permit expiration is when, and that code is there for if that particular job goes abandoned for over 6 months, okay? So how we looked at it in the past when we actually managed the entire building department is we go back and look at the last time an inspection was called in. So every time you call in an inspection, typically in our mind, that clock starts, that 6-month clock starts over again. Sometimes it's unrealistic that you can get a house finished in 6 months. That's not what the code's asking for. The code is just saying that if the job goes abandoned for over 6 months, or you purchase your permit in January, but you don't start construction until September, then that permit has expired. So that's where that rule comes into play. And if you just kind of work off the premise that, that 6-month rule starts every time you call in an inspection. Once you call in that inspection again, your 6 months starts again. We just don't want to see any projects go abandoned for any length of time.
Well, that's not right. You may go do something, and we don't need an inspection 6 months. You may be roughing in a house.
And that's true.
Roughing an inspection.
And that's true.
Maybe a year before you do something else.
But again, we want to be reasonable with you, and
That's not reasonable.
let's see, well, we don't, no, I don't think it is. But we don't know if we haven't been called out to site, and say your site's in a remote location, and we haven't been out there, in a while, and, you call in an inspection, and it's been 6 months, we're wondering what's taking place there. And we're gonna have a conversation with you. We're not gonna say, oh, your permit's expired, you need to come give us some more money. We're gonna have a conversation with you to find out what's been going on. And we can actually go out and do an inspection and see that, okay, probably some work has been going on. But
That's the key.
You can
The
be
difference
charged.
in that scenario is you're still working on the job.
As long as I got certain I paid somebody, I bought material for that job, I read the inspection, that's something that's been done there.
and how we've handled it, with Jackson County, for instance, is, we help the builder, the contractor, a lot of times it's a homeowner. I'm doing this myself, and all I can do is buy a stick of wood every 3 months. So it's taking me forever to get my house built.
You know, as long as you're communicating with the building department, you just give them a call and say, look, hey, I know I haven't had it inspected for a while, I'm still working on the house. You know, the code is not there to say that you're an awful person or that you're trying to break the law. The code is there to help you and to help the building department maintain and manage the construction that's going on in the county. So we're not going to ever take the approach that we're out to get you, because actually we're out to help you. When I get up and tell a little bit about our company and what we do and how we handle inspections, I hope that's going to be something that you're going to understand. But that 6-month rule is for abandonment. If that project has gone abandoned for 6 months, then the permit expires.
What else you got? Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Aaron, good question about the permit. Is there any way to look at the expediting the permit process?
As far as,
Like, now that y'all been permitted driveway permit, site plan review, plus the environmental health has extended their review time to a minimum of 21 days. You can call them 19th day, they said they got 2 more days a lot of times. And then y'all have now 10 days to review a building permit. Just pushes out that permit time. Honestly, sometimes it can take 45 days, 60 days, and even longer than that in some cases. So is there a way that we could submit to the environmental health and possibly go ahead and submit for site plan review for you guys so they can be done in conjunction? That way we don't have to be involved in that process. Go ahead and submit
it
it
creates
over.
a few issues when we do that. Let me talk to guys, talk to April. I'm not gonna promise yes or no, it may not ever change. But right now, it's, the system's in place. We'll always look at, making it more efficient when we can, but sometimes it just doesn't work to do it like that, to have that submission in process, because there's a few checks and balances that need to happen between the two sometimes. We'll definitely take a look at it and find the most efficient way to try to do that, but can't promise you yes or no.
In my experience, so far with y'all in the permitting process, it hasn't been bad, it's just the environmental health aspect of it.
And they can get inundated with quantity too quickly. When you've got things that pop into place, like the slab issue that came up, you're gonna get a mass flood into the system that flood into the system, so the system hasn't changed.
So what,
Rate that flood.
It didn't have anything to do with that.
It wasn't great with the slow times.
That's, it's,
Is that a personnel issue within environmental health that can be addressed, because?
that's not something I can answer. That's something, you have to address internally with that system.
Well, additionally, you can pay your, $75 extortion
I'll get it's, talk to me. It's, the systems have to change to accommodate certain things sometimes, and as good or bad as it is, nobody's ever going to be completely happy with the decisions that ever made, but we try to do the best we can to accommodate the majority at the time based on what we see. Are y'all ready to be with today? Or are you just completely smart me? Here we go.
One of the things I've heard from quite a few people in this room, so I might be the elephant in the room, but it's the site plan requirements. I understand you just said, well, we need to know exactly where you're putting something, but you can draw anything on a piece of paper, if it's not verified on site, then it's really worthless.
That's the key.
So, I mean, in the past, it's been based on like poor soil conditions or certain situations we had to have site plans, but I pulled permits in several surrounding counties in the last year, and as far as I know, Oconee County is the only one requiring that on everything. It just seems excessive. Quite frankly, it's an expense, and I know the answer is always no, you can pass it over, but that's not fair to the customer. You can't always pass it over, and just delay in time of getting these things done. I just don't see the necessity of it.
It's one of the little evils that you unfortunately, have in place. Not necessarily, but you know what I mean. It's a tool that we use to really verify what's in place. At the end of the day, we just want to know what's there, where's that, and is it what you said it was going to be, plain and simple. And that's one of the tools that help us do that. And we're getting into some lots now that are some really small lots, and I just don't see the houses decreasing in size in this county. If anything, they get bigger over time. So you go from a typical, 2,000 square foot standard house, it's, 2,000, to where now it might be 4,500 square foot standard here, and the lots aren't increasing in size. So as we see bigger houses get into smaller spaces, me personally, I want to go out there and verify that you're not over a boundary or you got something out there issue. So that's one of those things that's going to blanket cover and protect you long term, making sure you're in the right spot too, and we're not, into an easement or something, because finding on the front side is a whole lot cheaper than finding on the back side.
If you were worried about encroaching on the property lines, couldn't you say that it's a lot under a certain size, then we need a site plan?
You can whittle that thing to death. Right now, the path that we've taken is we want to see the site plan on every single site right now.
And as a soil scientist, are they able to give us a site plan? Athens, Clark County allows soil science, but Oconee County didn't allow that at one time.
I think the soil scientist is fine now. We really just want to see, what that location is, and make sure you're staying within the confines of that space. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Aaron, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there a particular reason why the letter of approval from environmental health only applies for, say, so I've got a customer now wanting to rebuild their deck. The deck was built in 2007 when the house was permitted and built. According to that site plan, the existing deck is the size that it says it was on the site plan. So they want to just rebuild that deck, not make it bigger, not make it smaller. According to the rule, anything over a 10 by 10, you have to have approval from the environmental health in addition to what I've been told is the site plan. So there's a particular reason for that.
April, you want to take this? I'm throwing you in the bus now, too. Does everybody know April?
We know now.
So if it's the same size decking, then we don't have an issue with it, we don't have to go out there. If you make it a foot bigger, wider, then yes, we'll have to go out there to make sure it's not going to encroach on your septic system or your air.
I think it's going to boil down to if you're changing the permanent structure from what it was originally intended for at, they want to see that difference to make sure it does not affect the septic system. If it's the exact same footprint, you want to do the exact same footings, I don't think you have to do anything different that way. Is that right? So it really just depends on, are you modifying the structure from any capacity from what was originally approved?
Unless the deck is on top of the septic tank.
But this also, all this has to be done in a, non-cleared, non-graded area. So site plan has to be done, before anything's cleared. That's hard to do. We've done it, and we do it in Clark County. But environmental health, like the other Doug just mentioned, they don't like to go out to a bushed, thick lot that we've got flagged, or the soil scientist has got flagged.
I gotta buy a map.
I know
Like
Oconee-
or something.
I'm sorry?
I just need to buy a map, pair of those little pants, and so it goes over that figure. If you run into a scenario like that, come and talk to us. Let us know what's going on.
We used to, and I know it is, I can say used to, but we used to be able to clear without a permit. And that frees up environmental health to come in and not have to go through briars and ground.
We really just want to make this a simple process. We want to make sure we stay in communication with you guys. We really want you to stay in communication with us. If you have some issues or something just doesn't job very well, just come talk to us, let us know what's going on. Biggest thing I just want to see is make sure we all stay in communication and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Pretty simple.
Aaron, what is your preferred method of communication? You
Call,
want phone
yeah.
calls? Or you want emails?
Say that again.
I mean, how can we get the quickest response?
Emails are awesome because, you know, I get floating all over. I never know on a daily basis where I'm going to be, how much time I'm going to be on the office. If you need me immediately, you know, call Liz. She will find a way to get in touch with you if it's a true dire emergency, or maybe there's somebody else that can answer that question. Email is always going to be a faster response. Phone calls, I generally try to take as many phone calls as I can in the morning. They pile up throughout the day. I do my best to get to those that evening. Sometimes the next day, it just depends on what kind of workload we got going on. I'll do my best to call you almost immediately if I can. But email is always a great way to do it. Like I said, if it's a true emergency, call Liz, call somebody in the office. Somebody will be able to get in touch with the person that can get you an answer relatively fast. There's no best method because it really just depends on the workload of the day. Yes, sir.
Aaron, I know you and I touched on this just briefly, but is there any discussion or any time frame on Oconee County going automated, like to schedule inspections, to see if we passed an inspection? I know a lot of us, I work here in LJ, I might be in LJ and need to know if I passed this inspection. And instead of calling Liz and she don't know, you know, until you get back in that evening. You know what I'm saying? If this county was automated like Sandy Springs or Gwinnett or City of Atlanta, is there any discussion or time frame on that?
Yeah, Ted, so if everyone can hear me, we have a new ERP, which is an overall countywide electronic system that we're going to, that is being implemented in the next couple of months, and we should go live in the middle of the summer. So we're looking around July where you'll be able to email, call, text, that type of thing for permits for the next day. So we'll, over the next 6 months, roughly, we'll be going through that process of changeover into that new system from our old system. But you will have that ability to do that.
And to go back to your question for a second, Mike, too. If you call me and I don't answer immediately, it's not because I don't want to talk to you, but when I get on the job site and I'm actually working on the job site, I want to make sure that the job site has my full attention. So I may not answer immediately, but I'll do my best to call you back as soon as that stuff wrapped up. So it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's just, you know, I've got a job I'm working on, and I want to make sure you get the same attention that the next guy down the road does.
Aaron, I know you said y'all were trying to speed things up, and I know it's tough sometimes, but like now we have to buy a driveway permit, it's included in the check code. But y'all want us to take the driveway permit over to Public Works, let them approve it, then we have to come back down there, pick it up, and bring the packet over to y'all. Wouldn't it, since y'all are in the same building and it's not really that far from the offices, but I mean, y'all are getting money. What I'm saying is, couldn't we give you the packet and have it go to them, or whatever they gotta do, or them?
We'll take a look at the process.
Because that's, you know,
what we can do to make it.
I mean, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you got a lot of projects going, it takes a lot.
I don't know what answer to give you today because there's some changes that have happened in that department too. We'll take a look at the current system. How can we make it more efficient? We're going to be doing that over time, and it may not happen today, tomorrow. I can't say that that specific incident will ever happen, but we'll definitely want to take a look at the systems that are in place and how to make them more efficient, how to make them quicker, how to turn things faster for y'all. That'll be an ongoing process that we're looking at on a constant basis. So I can't promise you that one scenario will be fixed, but we'll take a look at those processes individually as a whole and just see how they all mesh together, what we can do to speed and stuff like that up. Anything else? it over to Hal then. I want to encourage you, if you have brought your code books with you, Hal is going to autograph today at the end of the session. Get him to sign off on it, it's a pretty big deal. I think he was in charge of actually putting together the color concepts for our black and white pamphlets, so,
All right, thank you.
they turned it up to me already, they hear me every day.
All right, again, my name is Hal Chipwood. I'm a certified building official. I work for a company called Bureau Veritas. I just want you to know that I have been in your shoes. I came out of the construction industry myself. I built a couple of houses over in Gainesville with a friend. I worked with a H&R Mechanical for several summers growing up. So I've been in the industry for more than 25 years. I've been an inspector going on close to 15, 16 years. I got my inspection start in Jackson County, where I worked with Jerry Lord for several years over there. In Jackson County. When the building market took a downturn, I had the availability to go do something else. So for 6 years, I took a hiatus. Did do some type of inspections on the side, kept my certifications current. Didn't have the opportunity to come back to Jackson County, but with this company, Bureau Veritas. And I know the logo looks imposing. I know the name. It frightens a lot of people when they see us pull up on job sites and they see that word Bureau. But the name actually means the Bureau of Truth. This is a company that has been around since 1828. And what we do in building inspections is a very, very small part of what this company is. It's France-based, but we have over 75,000 employees just in the United States alone, and handling a lot of different things. You'll see this logo on the back of containers that are shipping containers on trucks or frigates out in the ocean. But anyway, it's a very, very large company into a lot of different things. Like I said, we're a very small part of what this company is about. We're new to Georgia for about 5 years. Like I said, I came back in 2014, and I have been, Bureau Veritas started in 2014 in the state of Georgia as doing building inspections. So I've been a part of every community, every building department growth that we've done. And right now, I'm managing 25 different building departments around northeast Georgia and south Atlanta. So I've got several inspectors. We've got deep resources. It's always our goal to help you. That's the reason we wanted to do this. And unfortunately, I've probably got most of the information you came to hear, and I've got 30 minutes to get it to you. So I'm going to try to do this as quickly and painfully as possible. But I do also want to entertain questions as we go. We don't want to get too deep, but if we need to, just to honor everyone's time, be able to answer some of those questions afterwards. So I'm going to hang around and get you in the chat. Currently, the mandated codes for the state of Georgia are the 2012 international codes, with the exception of the International Energy Conservation Code, which is 2009. And the National Electric Code, which was adopted in 2017 as a current edition. So the 2017 National Electric Code, 2009 Energy Code, and the rest of the building codes are 2012. All those codes have amendments. You can find those amendments located on the DCA website at georgiadca.gov. Under construction codes, there'll be a link to the amendments. And there's some sections in the code that Georgia has said, no, that's a little bit too much of what we want to do, so we're going to change it. So we've changed some of the language, changed some of the requirements there. I kind of jumped, I'm not looking at the screen. I'm sorry. Okay, 2020, we've got new code additions coming. So the 2018 international codes will go into effect in 2020, with exception to the International Energy Code, which is going to be the 2015 edition, and the National Electric Code, which will be the 2020 edition. Code editions change every 3 years. Georgia typically is 6 years behind every code change. So here we are coming up on 2019, we're going into the 2018 codes, which are already in place through ICC. And we're planning on doing another one of these sessions at the end of this year to get you prepared for all the different code changes that are coming up in 2020 with these new code editions. And again, we want to, as a company, we want to help you guys be successful in your business. So the more information that we can give you as to what's expected during the inspection process, what the code is requiring, what those changes are, the sooner we can get that in your hands, it's a help to us as inspectors, but it's also a big help to you as builders, because you know what's inspected, just like you were saying. It's easier to pallet if you know up front. And the last thing we want to do is just walk into a job site and say, oh, by the way, this went into place 2 years ago, you haven't been doing it. We're going to work with you on that. We want to educate and communicate with you in order to help you become a better builder. And that helps us become better inspectors. I've got several members on our team. You've already met Tim Wilkins. He is a master plumber. He also does residential building inspections for us and plumbing inspections. But if you have any type of plumbing needs that you have or questions that you have according to code, Tim will be a guy that you would want to contact. Because he knows that code very well, he knows plumbing very well, and he can help you in those regards. Clint Jackson is a residential inspector. He is primarily working in Tony County right now. I do have several others. Billy Vanderbilt, Paul Miller, Don Brown. Billy came from the framing side. Paul comes from the mechanical side, and Billy also has very strong knowledge on electricity. Paul is energy and mechanical, so any questions come up with that, I want you to have their numbers so you can reach out to them and say, hey, I got a question. I need to understand how this works. John Brown is our plan reviewer. He is also a electrical inspector. He's an electrical licensed electrician, so he can help out there. BJ Smith-Luiga and Josh Flowers and Devontae Foster, they are all new early career inspectors. We have hired them in order to make them building officials one day. They're a young group who we're teaching the trade to. Because the fact is, some of us older inspectors, we're dying breed. They're not around much.
That whirlwind numbers is not included.
Yeah, it should be in the package. Yeah. All the slides that you're going to see on this presentation is in is in this packet here.
That's it.
Right there. All these slides are there for you to take notes. So you've got those numbers there at your disposal. We entertain the calls. We appreciate the calls. And what I want to do real quick is just tell you a little bit about how we do inspections, because like I said, I've been in your shoes. I've been on your side of the table. I haven't worked in Forsyth County. Has anybody worked in Forsyth County? How do you like those inspectors? You don't have to say. You don't have to say. But there are a few inspectors in Forsyth County that will walk onto your job site, see that you're not ready for the inspection, turn around and walk off, never have another word with them, charge a reinspection fee, just so they can come back. And you get charged for that. We're not wanting to do that. We're not wanting to work with you that way. We want to build a relationship with you. We want you to look at us as another tool in your toolbox. Like I said, if we can make you a better builder, that just makes us a better inspector. So when our inspectors come out on site, if you ask for their business card and they've got it handy, we're going to give you our business card. If you want our number, we're going to give you our number. Since we're a little new to some of you guys, we're going to start writing our number and call the inspection record. So you can see that number. If you have any questions about the inspection report, you can call that particular inspector. Got some that have a little shaky handwriting, so we'll kind of get that squared away too. But our goal is to be consistent in every single jurisdiction we go to. Our goal as a company and as a unit here in Georgia is for all of my inspectors to be consistent, so that when you're dealing with one inspector and he's out one day and another one comes in, we're looking at the same thing. We're treating you the same way. We're having the conversations with you that need to happen, and we're helping you through this. We want to see 100% pass rate with inspections. And we do that through communication and education. That's the whole thing. Yes, sir.
So when I call to the county for an inspection, one of these guys on the list is gonna show up, might be a different one every time.
No, it won't be a different one every time. What we try to do is we try to match the personality of that inspector with the area that he's working. Now, I do, because we work in several different areas, I've got inspectors traveling from different counties. There's days when I am working the city of Statham and doing those inspections, having to come through Oconee County to pick up those inspections, and then motoring down to Union Point to get those inspections when I have to finish Union Point and head over to Social Circle to pick up those inspections. Now, that's a busy day for me, especially if I've got inspectors out. For the most part, we're going to try to put somebody here that you're going to see on a daily basis. Okay? There are going to be times when that person wants a day off, he needs a vacation, and you're going to see somebody else. But there should be consistency between the inspectors. We do not want to have Paul come out on one day, Clint come out the next day, Tim come out the next. We try to position our inspectors in certain areas close to home, because that's also going to be more convenient for you. Most of us are local around Jackson County and Oconee County, so we can get to you as quickly as possible. We do guarantee a next day inspection. We do ask that you call Liz to set up those inspections, and Liz in turn will let us know the night before how many inspections we have that day, and we can schedule accordingly. Because we do give our numbers out, because we do want to communicate with you, if you need an ETA on when we're going to get there, you just pick up the phone call, or you shoot a text and just say, hey, this is Joe, I'm in Oconee County, you got an inspection for me, and you got a ballpark idea of when you're coming. And we'll say, yeah, I'm headed that way now, I should see you in about an hour or so. We're more than happy to do that, but it's a little unrealistic for us to call you to tell you when we're going to be there, because we're handling so many different jurisdictions now. For the most part, for right now, Clinton is working some in Jackson County, he's working some in Oconee County, so he works the.
I want to go back to Mike's question earlier too. I prefer that you actually call and cancel it, because you may have taken provisions to prevent the rain on that site, and it may be inspectable. And if you're relying on me to make that determination, that's not something we would know about. So if you put a tarp over, you put plastic over the site, and it's not soaking wet, we can actually do the inspection. That's not something we would know until we get on site, and you ultimately would have that determination as far as if that inspection is ready or not. So that's kind of why I would prefer you to make that call, and not rely on us to make that call. Does that make sense?
Yes.
How would we know which person to tell?
Well, for the most part, right now, you're seeing Clinton for residential inspections. I'll be primarily handling the commercial inspections. But honestly, right now, for the next 3 weeks, I've got Clint on assignment in North Carolina. So I'll be handling the residential inspections here in Oconee County. So you're more than welcome. I've passed my cards out to everybody. You've got my number. Feel free to give me a call, shoot me a text. If you have to leave a message, do me a favor and say who you are and where you're calling from. Because there may be a Joe down in Union Point or a Joe up in Franklin County that we're dealing with. And it just helps me to be able to return your call quicker. Yes.
So if you or Clint do not have that inspection that day, we contact you guys, you can tell us who to contact you guys.
Yeah, we should be able to, yeah. And we'll give you their number.
Or will Liz know that information?
She might.
If they tell me, I'll know that information.
Okay, if not, we have to get that from whoever.
Now, kind of the process is what we do is Liz sends us an email at night before the end of the day, and we know how many inspections. That's why you're asked to call in by 4 o'clock. So we can get an inspection list by 5 and know exactly where we're gonna go. We can plan our day accordingly the night before. So when we get that email and know that we've got several inspections in Macomb County, what Clint's gonna do is he's not gonna come into the office and pick up inspections. He's gonna go straight to those inspections and work his way to the office. Yeah.
This is just a comment. Would it be easier, like, I know when y'all are on the job, you flip the next page and I'm going to this guy. We've all got our mobile numbers on, send a text and say, we're headed to your job now. Then it's up to us to be there, because 9 times out of 10, we have to call you back and spend 5 minutes going over what they were, when that one little text could eliminate that, let us be on site, and just.
Yeah, there's days that we can do that. There's days that we're just so covered up with what he's doing.
It's in our sheet.
Yeah, well, we encourage you to be there on site. You know, we want to walk that job site with you when we're doing the inspection, because it just helps us communicate with you better. And it could save you a failed inspection if we can stand there and have a conversation about a code or something. Yes, sir.
How do I know if it's gonna be you guys or if it's gonna be Aaron who's gonna be doing the inspection?
Aaron's doing the concrete work.
It's me.
Aaron's doing the concrete work, and once you start going vertical, with the framing, that's where we come in. We're gonna handle your framing, your MEPs, insulation, whatever, inspections from framing up to CO. Those are what we're gonna handle. Gabby still handles the, erosion sediment control when it comes to the final stabilization and throughout the process. So we're everything, once you drive in, that's where we come in. Unless Aaron is fishing somewhere, which that's every day. You know, we'll pull in and handle inspections for you. But our contract with Macomb County is for supplemental work, so we're here as often and as much to do whatever Macomb County needs. We're going to do our dead level best to make sure you're getting timely inspections, you're getting those inspections next day, you're being treated with respect, you're being given the right information that you need, and that we're available for questions or anything you need. Like I said, we want to be another tool in your toolbox. We're not here to make your life easier. I've been treated like dirt because I was a builder, had an inspector come in and tell me that I was the worst thing in the world when it came to construction.
If you have ponds with access to nice baths, just put a star by your name on the sheet on the way out, and that will help me out tremendously.
Okay, I'm gonna start. The whole purpose of what I wanted to do today is really tell you a little bit about who we are, how we do our inspections, how I train my guys to do inspections. So like I said, we're in 25 different jurisdictions, and sometimes I've got to mobilize my guys and move them in different directions just because of somebody else, somebody says whatever. Or even if the need increases. I mean, we're to the point that if it starts blowing up and building is so crazy that we're seeing that there's 25, 30 inspections today, you may see 3 Bureau Veritas inspectors here because we're going to guarantee a next day inspection. We're going to bring the workforce to you. If it turns out there's only 1 inspection, you're going to see 1 guy that day. So we're able to provide as much service as Macomb County needs or as little service as Macomb County needs. But the way I train the guys is they're geared to start their inspection the minute they get out of the vehicle. So when they get out of the vehicle, they're doing 2 things. One, they're looking in the permit box to make sure that there's a permit there. You know, we want to make sure that every site is permitted, that permit is posted. We're checking for that, looking for it. If we don't find it, then we're making a call to the county, and typically no permit equals no inspection. We're also doing a site inspection because we're in these subdivisions every day. We're on the road every day. Gabby is one person. She can't be everywhere all at once. So we're an extra eye out there for Gabby. So we're going to do site inspections as well. We're going to check your BMPs. We're going to look to see to make sure that construction exits are maintained, that we don't have any dirt in the roadway, that silt fence is up and where it's supposed to be. And that's why it's going to be important for you guys to have your tertiary permits, if those are required in those job boxes, because we will check those to make sure that your BMPs match what's on the tertiary plan. That's how we're trained to do it. That's how we train that's how I train my guys. So we're gonna do that. If a bomb has gone off on your site, we're gonna make a call to the county, and more than likely it's gonna be no inspection on the building, because there's so much, debris, construction debris all over the place, or just BMPs just gone wild. So there's gotta be some critical areas, and I'm gonna show you some pictures of some things, that we do there. So that's just kind of a policy we go, but we are gonna communicate with Oconee County, and Oconee County may say, no, we're gonna override you on this one, we want you to go do that building inspection. And we're gonna do what Oconee County asks, because we work for Oconee County. So just know that there's gonna be site inspections and inspections for the permit box. Typical site requirements, construction exit, now, Robert talked a lot about that, I'm not gonna go into it. Silk fencing installed, tertiary plans, permit box secured. And we gotta be able to access the permit box, so please don't put your permit box in a location but where we've either got to climb over silk fence or climb over a porta-john or walk through the woods 3 miles in order to get to it. Typically, we like to see those right there at the edge of the construction entrance. And also, if they can be posted and held up sufficiently. There's been many times I've had a clipboard in my hand trying to take my inspection report apart, and the permit box is waving in the wind because it's just sitting on a 2x4 stuck in the ground. So accessibility is a big thing for us, to be able to help you there and to be courteous of the next inspection. So we can get off of your job site and get to the next. Yes, sir.
Now, let me get this straight. You come up on the site and there's some blown out after a big rain, blown out silk fence, and you're coming there for a frame inspection. You won't do that frame inspection?
If it is a major blowout and you have lost sediment either into the street or onto a neighboring property that's occupied. Okay, now there's, again, like Aaron was saying, we handle things with common sense. Okay, we're not a regulatory force to go out there to make your life miserable. We're not going to show up on a job site and say, oh, you've got a piece of silk fence that's not held up to the state. Failed inspection, we're going to leave. We're not going to do that. It has to be some major stuff. And I'm going to give you some examples here. There's a typical construction exit, 20 by 50 by 6, with gravel, silk fence up both sides of the construction exit. That's mainly to deter anybody from offloading on that. You know, construction exit needs to be used for what it is. It's construction exit. Permanent box there, kind of like how we like to see it. These are some examples of what would cause a building inspection not to take place. This is a subdivision in Jackson County. This happened 3 years ago, and we shut that entire, Jackson County, I'll say, shut that entire subdivision down until all these BMPs are in place. And it's just a lot of fun. That's what I mean by a bomb run, okay? So that would you want to go in and do an inspection on the house if you saw that? And then we heard from Robert, erosion and sediment control is a very, very big deal in Georgia. So we're going to do our best to help you, to help Gabby, to help Oconee County. So if we see something that's, out of place, we're going to make a note on it on our inspection report. And if we've got your number right there available, we're going to give you a call and say, hey, Joe, I'm over here doing a framing inspection, but you got some areas where you need to get yourself fixed up. If you can get that taken care of for me, we'll go ahead and do your inspection, but I'm letting Gabby know. Okay? So whatever we see on site, we're gonna report back to Gabby. Okay? We're going to do our best to let you know as well.
One question.
Yes.
You said earlier up here that you must have a porta-john on every lot, or you won't do an inspection.
Porta-johns required by the code, they're not necessarily, we're not gonna say you've gotta have one on every lot, but they need to be within 300 feet of,
That's what I
of
was
each
gonna
lot.
ask.
Yeah,
You got
so,
25
yeah.
houses going.
Yeah, you can share it, yeah, that's not a problem. Just don't want them seeing sitting on top of, catch basins, okay? Have them actually on the job site. All right, inspections, I'm gonna try to just stay put so we can go through this. This is a picture of our inspection report, okay? Now, this is Jackson County. What I've done is just, kind of given you, an idea of what those look like and how we report. Our calling card for what we do as a company is if there is a building violation, if there's a building code violation, we are going to leave you that code section. Every time. Should be without fail. And here's the reason why. As builders, contractors, you are responsible to the code. You are not responsible to the inspector. Whether or not Oconee County had inspections, had an inspection department, whether they did permitting or not, if you're building a house as a contractor, a licensed contractor in the state of Georgia, you are responsible to the building code, not to the building inspector, okay? We are going to inspect every structure that we're asked to inspect according to the building code, not according to the inspector's preference. Okay? You get that? Not to our preference, but to the code. And we leave code sections to back up that. So if you see a code section attached to a violation, then that should be plain and simple, that, you know, there's something there you got to fix. And we give you the reference point to that. Yes, sir.
Hey, Al, can you implement what you just said in all the counties that we build houses in?
I can implement them in all the counties that I do business. That's about it. We're working toward that, okay? But again, that just helps you guys become better builders, okay?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I get that you're right for code, and I understand that not all counties choose to enforce every code the state of Georgia has in there.
Right.
But on that report, when you write that down, you're failing our rough end of final inspection. All right, so shouldn't it be where at this time, and this is part of what this is, y'all supposed to inform us on the things y'all haven't been enforcing that you're gonna be enforcing?
Yes.
But that failing inspection report is what's causing a lot of the problems, because you're writing down the code that we've never been enforcing, never had to do before.
Right.
So shouldn't you kind of get on page with Aaron and what the county's been doing before you turn down one of our houses?
I can't do that because we are responsible to the building code. As a company, the integrity of my company, the integrity of my name is that building code. So if we see a deficiency, we're going to cite it. We're going to make a notation about what that deficiency is. We're going to put the code section, just like we have here. We're going to put that code section there, and then if it's something that Oconee County hasn't been enforcing, then that's something we need to take up with Aaron. Okay?
It's not gonna be a lot of stuff.
No, I'm just talking about the
things
deck
that just
steps
change over time.
Yeah.
and the illumination on deck steps when you got
Yeah,
to play
exactly.
right over.
The idea behind it is if you see it now, you're aware of it. Internally, March 1st, we want to have these things in place. So as they write these things up and you see them, if it's not something we've typically enforced in-house in the past, consider March to be the deadline to get all this, cleaned up and resolved. And if you've got something, you need to discuss, come and discuss it. Because when March hits, and you call me and say, I don't want to do this, and Hal's put it on there, and it's legitimate, I'm going to 100% back you up at that point. Go, this is something we need to be doing, guys. We've given you time to get it in place, so that's one of the things we'll eventually get to, but yes.
And because of our consistency throughout all the jurisdictions that we work in, I can't ask my inspectors to say, okay, we're not making them do this over in Oconee County, but we are making them do it in Jackson County. And we can't work that way. It's the integrity of our company and the integrity of my inspectors, okay? So it's the way I train. They go out, they see the deficiency, they're going to cite that deficiency, and then the jurisdiction has the final interpretive authority. okay? Now, we may mark it down as a fail, but that's how we're trained, okay? Now, looking at the areas, yes.
I know y'all, your inspectors have a checklist of everything they're looking for.
Yes.
Any way we could get a checklist?
Absolutely, I hope you have one in the packet. Yeah, now that's the final inspection checklist. Yes, we will be more than happy to give you a checklist of any tool that we use out on the job site. Again, we want to make you successful, we want you to have all the information you need.
We'll collect all their lists, and then put together into a package, and just have it available at the office very soon.
We're currently updating our list to meet the 2018 codes that are taking effect in 2020. But absolutely, anything that we use to do inspections, we're going to pass on to you.
Is there even Putnam County too?
Not yet, but we're looking to get into Greene County, Putnam we're not over at. We are in Union Point, so.
Be aware that list is not just what they're looking for. Those are just typically the major non-conformities that you see on a regular basis. Don't use that list as the inspection bible. We won't get failed for anything that's not on here, but it's a really good start for the major things that they see in a lot of different counties.
The residential final inspection checklist that you've got in front of you, if you have a yes beside every box on that checklist, you will pass that inspection because it is 90% of everything that we look at.
Now, you saying that this is gonna change take place in March, April?
March,
Yeah, so that means things that's gonna be permitted after then, or things that's permitted before then will be exempt from the March?
Going forward, if the job comes up, and let's say it's April 31st, and you're calling your rough in for March 15th, that March 15th job is gonna be held to the new standard. It's not just the new stuff, it's just, you've had time to get those things in place, and you've been aware of those things along the line, so we're not gonna go back and retroactively hit every job that's out there, but going forward, if it's in process, and it's reasonably in process, we're gonna expect you to meet that standard.
Because that's part of the problem is not so much changes, it changes after the fact. Like,
Well,
the
that's
standard's already been in place, and then you come out and expect and say, well, last month this would have been okay. Last house you did like this was fine. Then you built the
If you
same house
haven't had an
again. It's
inspection
different.
between now and March, we'll figure out something to work with you.
It's a process, okay? And there is a learning curve, and we recognize that. Again, we're gonna take a common sense approach, and I look at it from the standpoint of you don't know what you don't know, okay? And we're gonna do our best to help you with that, okay? But as inspectors, with the integrity of my company, the integrity of my inspectors, my own integrity with what I teach them with, they are going to see code violations. They're gonna cite those code violations regardless of whether the county has implemented those in the past.
I think listening to what you've been saying the last 15 minutes, I think everyone in this room would really appreciate if we would get that phone call or text. Just over the next maybe quarter or whatever, just to walk through with your inspectors, see what you're looking, finding.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, work it both ways. Shoot a text, we can shoot you a text. I mean, if you want a ballpark, calls. If you need to cancel an inspection to say, you gotta, hey, I realize, my insulator needs to get out there. You can call us directly. You've got our number. You can call us directly and we'll say, okay, we won't go over there. But you need to hopefully you can get to us before we get to the job site. Enough on that, but again, let me just say with what with how we carry ourselves, we carry ourselves in a very professional manner. We want to build relationships with you. We are not going to argue with you. Code is code. If we can meet the intent of the code, then we're going to work with you to meet the intent of the code. But there are some areas in the code that are not gray, and the code is what the code is, and we're going to expect that to be satisfied. Okay? But we're going to work with you through this process. But we're not going to argue with you. We're not going to cuss at you. We're not going to fuss you. We're not going to disparage you. We're not going to tell you you're an awful builder. We're going to work with you through this process. We're going to teach you, we're going to treat you with respect. And the reason you've got my card, because I manage the state and everything that we're doing here, you have my permission to call me if one of my inspectors is treating you disrespectfully. Okay, I will nip that in the bud. Nobody in this room is deserving of any bad treatment from a building inspector. We are not that type of building inspector. Aaron may be, but we're not. Okay? So,
Yeah, I'm not holding those same standards, right?
just take that into consideration, okay? Building inspectors in the past have been looked at as, you know, either a good old boy or an enemy. We're neither, okay? We're gonna help you be a better builder, by helping you meet code standards, okay? And you can meet those code standards anywhere you work in the state. And if that helps you be a better builder, we've done our job effectively. Some of the things that I want to touch on is really go over some of these things that we have seen, not just in Oconee County, but things that we see everywhere that we go. So these are common violations that we find, or common deficiencies, or common things that most builders, you know, if they're not current with the code or the amendments of what's out there, this is what I've kind of put these things together. So we're going to run through some of these pretty fast. Site drainage, pretty straightforward. You got a 6 and 10 rule. Water needs to drain away from the site. Have to build our building pads up a little more sometimes. If you can't meet the 6 and 10 rule, then you can put a drain down. It has to have a 1% slope, but the object is to get water moving away from the foundation. Okay, there's your code section there and the exception. Monolithic slabs, a little cross section on that. Okay. When we do those inspections, we're going to probe your footings. We all have probe rods, and we're going to push down in the dirt. Well, Aaron's doing most of these, but I just wanted you to kind of see what we look at as a company. We look for a 12-inch deep ditch, that footings are in the earth, that they're not built up on top of cut grade. I know some of you will argue that point when it comes down to a basement foundation. But the code is pretty clear when it comes to either basement foundations or footings in general. It's a 12-inch deep ditch below the floorboard. That's how we look at it. Rebar is not required by the code in residential buildings, but if you do use rebar, you have to have 2 runs of number 4 rebar supported in the bottom 1/3 of the slab, or the bottom 1/3 of the brick. Okay. There has to be a chamfer. There has to be a slope there on the footing going in. Your slab is 3.5 inches minimum. Basement slabs are only required to have gravel underneath those at this time, and you have to have a sealed vapor barrier. So let's look at that real quick. Sealed moisture barriers. When you put your plastic down, if moisture can move up through the concrete to any portion of that slab, then it can get into your subfloor, whether it's wood, whether it's linoleum, whether it's a glue type flooring system, and it can eventually cause those floors to bubble. So we ask, and I think I've got the ACI 332. That's the American Concrete Institute standard for pouring slabs. Okay, it calls for a sealed vapor barrier. This code section that I've got up there for you, 506.2.3, actually it's before that, 506.1.6, I believe. That tells you, that gives you the ACI 332 standard. So that's what we look for. So we're looking for a sealed moisture barrier, which means that your plastic overlaps 6 inches. It doesn't have to be taped down. But we do ask that you seal that plastic to the plumbing penetrations or any penetration that comes through, so no moisture can escape that underneath that slab and get escape the earth and get into the slab and eventually harm the subform of that. Grade beams, those need to be at least 8 inches deep. You'll have steel in your grade beams where those are required. And then your plastic folds over into the footer.
How you don't look at how they seal it around pipe coming up? How do you seal that? Usually you just cut it with the straight edge and it flaps over.
Tape, there's two different ways that work effectively. House wrap tape is really good because if it bakes in the sun or if it gets wet, it's not going anywhere. Duct tape is gonna peel off, you're not gonna get a good seal. The other way, which I have found the best, it takes just a little bit more time, but if you take a 3x3 square of plastic, puncture a hole in it, stretch it down over that pipe, and then lay your large sheet over the top of that, and you'll have a sealed paper there. So anyway, as long as we can see tape or some type of seal, we don't see the dirt. We can't push our finger through and see the dirt. If you use grade stakes for screening off your slab, those can't be wood, they need to be rebar, and you can leave the rebar in the slab. When it comes to the slab itself, and you're using welded wire mesh, again, welded wire mesh is not required. But the code says if it is used, or actually the language says, where provided, slabs on ground reinforcement shall be supported and remain in place. So the days of hooking and lifting, welded wire mesh as the concrete's being poured, that can't be done. So either don't use the welded wire mesh, or if you do use it, then it needs to be put on an approved stand. You can see the types of chairs that we've got there that are good and not so good. Now, the one here, that one right there, that's typically what you would see your rebars supported on. This one over here. Those are good for rebar, but if you've got your concrete workers that are out there, they're pouring concrete, they're stepping on top of these things and they collapse. So even though it's allowed, because it's a support, and you're beating that code, it's not really recommended. Okay, but we're not going to fix it. Okay, just as long as that mesh is supported, you're in good shape. One of the biggest, yes.
What question, you made a comment that residential doesn't require rebar.
I'm sorry, residential does require the rebar, the building code does not.
Well, look, wait a minute. Earlier you said that in the footing of a residential building,
yes,
it did not require rebar?
No, I'm sorry, it does require rebar. The code does specify rebar. It can either be side by side number 4, or it can be one on top of the other. Okay, I'm sorry, the building code does not have a requirement for steel in the footing. I apologize for that. Garage portals, this has been one of the biggest things, biggest changes that have come to the in 2014 to 2012 code. These are just key points of where we see the biggest problems. Okay, I do want to say that if it's a standard 2-car garage, that header needs to span from corner to corner. Okay, unless it's a split. If you've got a split door 2-car garage, then the header does not have to carry all the way across. Okay, but if it's a one continuous open portal, that header has to span from one corner to the next. Okay, you've got a man door in your garage that's next to your garage door, then that header does not have to carry across the top of that man door. Okay, there's an 18-inch rule there that if the edge of your building is within 18 inches of the garage portal, then that header does not have to carry all the way over to the car. Yes, sir.
Scenario, if you have a 30-foot garage with a 20-foot garage door in the center of 30-foot garage, you got to span 30 feet?
Yes. And I've got some diagrams of that I can get to you for warehouse. They've done some calculations.
Are you going to give us?
Well, no. Let me
Are you
read.
going to give us some grace on that?
Pardon?
Are you going to give us some grace on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, but let me catch it because of that. No, let me rephrase that. Because of that 18-inch rule.
Okay.
You know, once if it's less, if the side of your house is 18 inches or less to the portal, then you've got to span to the corner. I'm sorry, I was not following right. So, If you've got 18 inches on each side of that garage portal or less, then that header needs to span corner to corner, all right? I think I might have a picture. There's the portal strapping. Yeah, I thought I had a picture. I got a good picture that shows a car that's backed out and hit that portal side, and the roof is on top of the car. And that's the reason for the strapping. To keep that header in place so the roof system will not be, portal doesn't collapse if that beam has, or if that beam brace has been taken out. Okay, portal strapping is one of the big things. Those header straps, they need to start at the double top plate, carry all the way across the header, and nail to the jack studs. Okay, if you're not using straps at the bottom that are encased in concrete, then 2 bolts are required with 2 2-inch washers on either side of that portal opening. All right. Egress windows, inhabitable attic. Even if this space in the attic is not being used, it's a future bonus room. You still have to put an egress window that meets the 5.7 square foot, which means it's a 20-inch opening side to side and a 24-inch opening top to bottom. We have in the past, it's kind of been a common theme throughout history of inspection, that a bedroom is defined as any room in the house that has a closet, with exception to your kitchen, which is a pantry, with exception to your family room. But if it's a singular closed-in room that's got a closet, you can look at it as a bedroom. It'll have to have a smoke detector and a egress window. All right. Handrail continuity. This one's pretty common thing that we see. When that handrail comes around, you've got to be able to hold on to a grasping handrail and not remove your handrail from the top of the flight to the bottom of the floor. Now, this particular case, this staircase is on has a landing. At the top, there's another set of stairs that comes down at an angle from it. Best case scenario for there, if you didn't want to do the handrail around, because I know that takes your trail guys a little bit more time, you can put that handrail on the other side of the wall. Okay? It's just from landing to landing. It doesn't have to be continuous all the way down from top of here. Just from one landing to the next.
You can have a rail on both sides.
You can have a rail on both sides. And because in this case right here, whoops. In this case right here, a handrail coming up and stopping into a newel post or just dead ending into the wall there, that's not going to impede your staircase. You still have to meet a 36-inch width on your staircase, and you've got 4 inches that your handrail can impede. Yes,
Are we still being picky about what is graspable as far as the shape of the handrail? Oval versus squared off, any of that other?
Okay.
There's some predefined shapes in the code.
As long as you can wrap your hand around it, get your fingers wrapped around it. May not be able to wrap your whole hand around it, you can get your fingers. Now, on a deck, a 2x6 laid on top, that's not a graspable hand. And like Aaron said, there are diagrams.
What about 2
Big Martin? I couldn't hear you. I don't hear good to see.
On the deck handrail, what about 2
2 by 8, you gotta have big hands. Oh, no, it's not. It's gotta be placed, the hand has to be placed on top. Carbon monoxide detector. These are only required in houses that have gas appliances in them and attached garage. If you don't use gas in your house, and you don't have a garage that is directly connected to the house, then you don't have to have a carbon monoxide detector outside of the bedroom. I didn't understand this one when they put it in because I learned in school that carbon monoxide is a heavy gas and it stays down low to the floor, but they won't these things up in the ceiling. Doesn't make sense to me. But it's the code, and I don't like it. Safety glazing, I'm not gonna spend hardly any time on this because Aaron has given you that handout. We've got the hazardous locations. Just know that that 24-inch arc is from the door swing, okay?
Hey, Hal, y'all's information conflicts. Because his diagrams are showing, like, this, depending on the swing, this window would require, but this window doesn't. Your information says they both require.
Oh, here, is that the same diagram? Now, this is
Similar.
This is out of the 2012 code, okay? What Aaron has given you is the 2015 code. I don't know if there's been a code change there or not, because we haven't been using it.
But apparently there is. This one would require one on the left window, but not require one on the right.
Okay, right here, this says that safety glazing is not required because of an exception, okay? On the latch side, all right? This one does require safety glazing. Now, let me ask you a quick question. Why do you think it matters if windows are glazed or hazardous tempered glass on either side of the door?
Doorknob. Yeah, that doorknob slams into it.
Not the doorknob.
Slam the door.
If I'm coming out of this door and you're coming in it, and you run that door into me, just say the door didn't have any glazing on it, and I don't know who's on the other side, if it's the wind that blows the door open on me, or somebody else bursts through that causes me to fall off of balance and fall into that window. It's got nothing to do with the door. It's got everything to do with somebody falling into that glass.
Mike, are you looking at the adjacency window diagram? Is that the one you're looking at on page 3, the safety ladder?
Because somebody could fall into this glass, that one would require to be hazardous. This one would not, because if the door swings open this way, it's going to knock you in this direction, not into this direction.
I think,
And that's it, sir.
This diagram doesn't.
Three hour classes are
door swing correctly. Whereas the 2015 one, it points out that door swings, but it really depends on which way that door swings is required or not. That's why I say some of these all-encompassing diagrams get really confusing because they don't show you certain elements that are typically in place. Whereas the 2015 version shows you exactly what to expect based on the swing of that door too. So in this case, the black and white diagram with the right side not being required, it really depends on the door swing too.
And let me help you with this on the safety glazing, how we're going to handle these inspections. Is when we go to do the rough-in inspection, if you've got your windows in, they need to be in. I mean, because the house needs to be dry, and you've got to have your envelope sealed at that time too, I believe over here. If you've got those windows in, while we're doing that framing inspection, we are looking to make sure that your windows, that you have tempered glass where tempered glass belongs. The reason we do that then is because we don't want to come back from the CEO and say, oh, by the way, you've got to have tempered glass there. We want to give you plenty of time to get that tempered glass ordered or to look throughout the house. And what I've seen in all my years is that a lot of times you've got the tempered window there on the side. It's just not where it's supposed to be. It's upstairs in the bedroom somewhere. So, it gives you plenty of time to get that corrected. And that's not, so we don't ever fail you for that. We put down if that was the only thing we found on the framing inspection, we're not failing that framing inspection for tempered glass because usually we check that on the CO. We just want to make sure that you've got plenty of heads up to know that piece of glass needs to be tempered and that you've got plenty of time to correct it. And we've got plenty of time to talk about it, and we can show you in the code book, where that requirement falls. And one thing I forgot to mention is with our guys, every one of my guys has a set of code books with them in their vehicle. At any given point in time, you can call them. They can go straight to the code reference. They can pull out the code book and look at it with you. You can keep them with them at all times. But I'm going to rifle through these pretty quick. We all know that you got to have safety glazing where there's wet locations. Drip edge, that's a common look at what drip edge is and where it goes. It's required to be on the gable ends of the house and the eaves, okay? We can't see it because of the gutters, so we're trusting you guys that you're putting them there. Another issue that we run into a lot is called kick-out flashes, and where your roof butts into the side of another portion of your house, you've got a different roof level. That flashing needs to come down and make an angle so that water is diverted away from the edge of the house. And there's your good diagram of how that kick-out flashing is supposed to look. Handrails, where those guardrails, where those are required. Any elevation where it's going to be 30 inches, measured 3 feet away from a level area, that's going to require handrails and guardrails, okay? On stairs, going into homes, it's 4 risers. Starting at the bottom. 1 riser, 2 risers, 3 risers. Is that right? 3 stairs. 3 stairs. So anything over 3 steps, your landing doesn't count as a step. Anything over 3 steps requires a handrail. Okay? So just keep that in mind as you're doing building planning and getting it ready for that, because that's something that we're going to be on for sure.
Question.
Yes, sir.
On your retaining walls, how do y'all determine rail on retaining walls? Say if we go out 90 degrees, drop 45 down to grade, you require this on the flat?
Yeah, well, we're gonna measure 3 feet out, okay? And we're gonna take that measurement 3 feet out, 30 inches straight across to the lane, or to the edge, okay? Now, if you've got a retaining wall and you've got 36 inches on this side and you've got 30 inches on that side, you're not gonna be required to have a guardrail, okay? If you've got, it has to be a walking surface in front of it, okay? So if you've got a bed of roses or a bed of shrubbery planted in front of that retaining wall, it's not going to be required to have a guardrail because it's not considered a walking surface. Okay, does that make sense?
Because we're supposed to pass between planting and the walls, that's considered a walking surface.
All right, next is a big thing. We've got copies of the prescriptive deck detail up here for you. Let me just say a quick thing about this. The prescriptive deck detail takes place in section 507 in the residential building code, okay? So nothing in section 507 at all can be used. It has to be this prescriptive deck detail for residential decks that are open air decks, okay? These aren't, if the deck has a cover over it, then you don't use this. Only if it's open, if it's an open deck, okay? And there's several provisions in there. The biggest thing is the latch attachment to the house, which we'll see there is why we really need to have proper attachment to the side of the house. Common code violations we see are improper fastening to the ledger, improper fastening to joist the beam. I've kind of got arrows pointed to, I've got the next slide. Openings and guards and steel rails and improper lighting at landings. So all those different areas right there is where we see issues. Whether it be graspable handrails, whether it be lighting at landings and stairs, post deck connection, ledger connection. You cannot notch a 2x4, cannot notch a 4x4 post, okay? But you can through drill a 4x4 post and attach it to the outside, okay? You can notch a 6x6, but you can't notch a 4x4, all right? And then, of course, the guardrail, handrail, all stays in. Do I need to spend any more time on that? I'm trying to use
What's the proper lighting on the deck?
The code says that the landing and the stairs have to be artificially illuminated. Okay? It doesn't say that you have to have a light that is attached to the deck that shines directly to the deck. You can put a spotlight, and that spotlight shines onto that deck, on that landing and that stair surface. That works. The code just says that the stair and the landing have to be artificially illuminated. You can take a rope light, you can use clap on, clap off lights if you want to. Put them under the stairs as long as they're illuminated when you start.
We're saying step handrail can't be that, it has to be a vertical surface.
Yes,
It's
grab
not up top on the rails and something.
That's considered a guardrail. And the guardrails are just a handrail. Handrails are considered down along flights of stairs. Guardrails are considered in the footpath.
Can that graspable rail on a deck set of steps be up on top of your 2x6 or 2x8 rail?
As long as it meets the height requirement, which I believe is between 32 and 38 inches.
What about stepping off the step onto the ground?
Yeah, that's an interpretation thing. A landing, in our minds, a landing is something that's constructed. Okay, there should be some type of a surface that you step off onto that has been constructed. I don't consider grass, gravel, dirt, sand as a landing. The whole purpose of the landing is that you come off of those stairs onto something that you're not going to fall.
They walk on the ground, I mean.
Yeah. ICC says that, that's okay for a deck, but not any other egress of the house. So we're not gonna take issue with that anymore. So if you don't wanna put a landing, you don't wanna put what we consider a constructed landing at the bottom of those deck stairs, we'll defer to what ICC says, even though I disagree with them all over the place.
In most cases, your sidewalk accommodates that, but you do have the occasional rear decks that do offload to the yard.
Now, you made a comment on lighting, it got confused when you said, artificial light source, back on, back off, then you made a comment about at dark, does it have to be a continuous light at dark?
No, just when stairs are used, again, we'll use common sense with that,
The same interior application actually applies to the exterior application too. So
Right.
if it's in use, it needs to be lit.
Yeah. And it's actually not, the code section is actually for the, it's just it's called stairway illumination, and it appeals to both interior and exterior. The ledger board is a big deal when it comes to attachment to the house. You cannot attach to brick or through brick, okay? So if you're building a house that's going to have a brick facade, you're putting the deck on the back, you better put your deck on first, because you're going to have to build that brick up around it. Yes,
That's
sir.
gonna, that's what's legal. That's one of the stupidest things folks doing that. I can show you right now, same thing. Put that hole in there, it's gonna rock. That's plain stupidity and common sense, because you hold that all the way through there, through your band of your house. There's no way in the world, double dip the other side folks going.
I don't write the code, I just enforce it.
Can you put, if you're using 6x6, you can put 6x6 against the house and support it?
Yes, it can be, that's what the code says, it has to be considered freestanding. So, that's another option that you have.
But if we put the total still on the bump off, if we're approving our van, are you gonna accept that? If we have posts sitting up against the house, 6x6s, that are holding the deck up, but we still have it bolted through the van.
We will accept that. Yeah, it's a structural thing. It'll compromise the brick if that ledger board is structurally supported by the brick. And that's what would happen with those bolts going through. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that's the question here. All right, how many posts do I have? 1 inch over, 1 inch 6 foot?
There's a diagram in the prescriptive deck code that basically shows on each end of the house, you've got four bolts spaced 2 inches apart from the sides, 4 inches apart from top to bottom, depending on the size of your ledger board. And then, depending on the length of your ledger board, there's a calculation in there to put the bolts and they'll run diagonal.
I said, I'm talking about posts.
Oh, the post? Yeah, the posts have to be, you can either set your, are you talking about setting
How many posts?
how many posts? Oh, there is none, no.
It's 2 posts on each end.
As long as it meets the span requirements for your ledger board. Okay? There are span requirements. I mean, you can put one, if you're doing a 40 or 50 foot deck across the back of your house and you put a post over here, post over there, that's not gonna meet span requirements.
I'm not like 12 days.
If you've got a 12-to-12 deck, then you've got one beam, one ledger board back there, then yes.
If the yard time, you don't have a double, or triple 100 that day.
Right.
You can't afford to.
Exactly. Yeah, again, we're gonna use compensation, and we're gonna work with you on that. So, again, these are all talking points that we can have in the field, and because of time, I just wanna make sure that I'm hitting everything, for you guys. We can't cantilever, attached to a cantilever, concrete placement, there's a couple of diagrams for you on, how the post is supposed to sit, if it's on top of if it's new concrete, if it sits on top of the concrete, if it's on top of the patio, then you're going to have to put a footing underneath. Basically, you've got to have a footing underneath that post. Joist hangers are required. And one thing I want to point out is if you'll take a look at that, how that stair stringer is attached, you'll also see in the prescriptive deck detail that when you do your stringer, that the full face of that stringer has to attach directly to, it has to bear directly to that laser beam, okay? No more hanging 2 inches down. That's interior stairs, that's exterior stairs. Those stringers have to, the back cut of that stringer has to bear directly against the 2x10, the 2x12, 2x8, whatever you've got up there to support it. So keep that in mind when you're cutting your stringers for length, okay? Basically what that turns into is your top stair becomes part of the landing. But that's all in the prescriptive deck code. Again, here's a picture of notching. You can notch a 6x6, but you can't notch a 4x4. Here's graspable handrails. There's a diagram for you there. And again, if you want to put that handrail on top of that, that's fine. You just got to meet that 32 to 38 inch height requirement.
But the height requirement on the side ones has to be higher than 32, so you can't put it on top.
If you
gotta have 36 on that one, so you're never gonna be able to.
Well, if you can't, you've got your height requirement 32 to 38. Okay?
For the handrail.
Yeah.
But for the side, walk it down, you gotta go higher than that.
Yeah, I'll have to look at the code to see about that. But yeah, again, we'll talk about it on the site and see what we can work out. As long as we meet the intent of the code in some areas, we can do that, okay? But again, there are some things that are, non-negotiable if it's the code. In 2017, we adopted state of Georgia adopted the 2017 electrical code. There were several changes in that. There were several changes when we adopted the 2014 code that really caused a lot of heartburn for guys. So I'm gonna kind of flash through these real quick. This picture shows you basically what has to be GFCI protected and what doesn't. Okay, any outlet that is within 6 feet of the edge of a water source has to be GFCI protected. I think it's showing there that the disposal outlet has to be protected because it's underneath the cabinet. The refrigerator outlet there, if it's within 6 feet of the edge of the sink bowl, then it has to be GFCI protected. Here's another example. Looks like the outlet underneath the sink here is not required to be GFCI. It's because it's not. They're not considering water to run around down. I don't know why, but because there's not a disposal or any type of appliance connected to it, it doesn't have to be GFCI protected. But again, the other one is within 6 feet. It will be required to be protected. GFCI protection for lighting outlets and crawl spaces. We've always had the GFCI outlet in the crawl space. Now that has to be connected. The lighting system inside the crawl space has to be connected to that GFCI Reason being is that a worker was down there in the crawl space, standing in a puddle of water, raised up, back broke the light bulb, made connection with the circuitry, killed it, electrocuted him right on the spot. That's where that code section came in. So that's new to the 2017 code. Branch circuits for garages, the way the code states now is that every car space has to have its own outlet. Okay? You still put your garage on a dedicated circuit, but the changes from 2014 to 2017 is that now you can actually have your exterior outlets on that same circuit. But if you've got exterior outlets outside the garage, they should be on that garage circuit. But your lights, your outlets, your garage door opener, that has to be on the dedicated circuit. You can't connect it with the circuit inside the house. Change here for the appliance branch circuit. You can't, the outlet that is being used for whether it's a microwave or whether it's a dishwasher or garbage disposal is not going to count. But the dishwasher cannot be in the dishwasher cabinet. It's got to be in an area, another accessible cabinet. And it's a readily accessible rule, which means that you should be able to get to that outlet at any time. Same thing goes for the microwave. You've got a microwave cabinet up here, we used to have the outlet right behind it. That outlet has to be connected in another area, or you hardwire those in. Conventional countertop spaces, again, this one really isn't, they changed the dimensions, but for the most part, what we're doing is where we've got an outlet here for the countertop peninsula, and we've got one usually right down here. Those are pretty common. Not a big change, but it was a change to the category. There's the dwelling unit garages saying that you got to have one for each car space. Because I guess one day we're all going to electric cars. Built-in dishwashers, again, there's that section about where the outlet goes. AFCI, everybody's heartburn. The only places in the house that aren't required to be AFCI protected is your garage, your outdoor outlets, and your bathrooms. But every other outlet in the house is required by code to be arc fault protected. If that's in the kitchen where you've got ground fault protection, or in your basement where you've got ground fault protection, you have to have the arc fault ground fault complement.
Adam,
Yes,
can I
sir.
ask a question?
Yes,
Back
sir.
up about the microwave. You mentioned it has to be GFI
In a separate cabinet.
in a separate cabinet. It can't be behind the microwave in a cabinet. Is that correct?
Cannot be directly behind the microwave.
Right.
It has to be readily accessible.
If it's hardwired, dishwasher and microwave can be hardwired.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and basically that whole code section deals with readily accessibility, that you're able to get right directly to that without having.
I understood it said on there, one of the exceptions on the refrigerator out there, does not have to be GFI if it's not within 6 feet.
6 feet. Measured from your sink, the edge of your sink bowl, not your sink flange. Okay, got a couple slides here for plumbing. Now let me say this real quick about the plumbing code. The international residential code has structural, architectural, and plumbing, mechanical, and electrical, and energy sections in here. Okay, the only sections that the state of Georgia use out of the International Residential Code is everything from Chapter 1 to Chapter 10, which deals with structural architectural. But when you get to the plumbing portion of the code, you have to go to the International Plumbing Code, and it's Georgia minutes. Okay, so we use a whole different book there. For the electricity, we use the National Electric Code, 2017 edition, for anything electrical. None of the requirements in here can be used. HVAC, mechanical,
you can use the mechanical and the fuel gas section of the international residential code. So it's just structural, architectural, and mechanical for these portions. The energy code also has its own code book, and those are not recognized in the international residential code. So when it comes to plumbing, this is a laundry stack. The way the code reads and the way we interpret it is that this drain arm here must connect to a 3-inch. Directly connect to a 3-inch. The trap arm has a 4-foot limitation on it, and when it comes, only on the laundry center, you come out of that trap, go over anywhere up to 4 feet, it's got to directly connect into a 3-inch. And the reason I'm told from that is because of these new high-velocity washers. They're throwing so much water out of the laundry tub in the 2-inch drain stack, you can't handle it. And it's causing backflow problems. So that's what that requirement is. Water tampering valve, this is just something we see a lot out in the field, not necessarily here, but just make sure your plumbers know that, your showers, things like that have to have tempered water. Residential water heaters. There is this sheet right here, that is in the Georgia amendments. And looking at that sheet, it'll tell you, just what size water heater you have to have for a house. And based on the requirements, if you have a house that is a 4-bedroom, you have 3 to 3.5 baths, it's going to require a minimum of 65 gallons of hot water. And I don't think they are making 65-gallon hot water heaters, but for the most part, we're going to 80 gallons, or you can use 2 40-gallon oil bowls. It doesn't matter, as long as you can reach that. What do we call it? First hour rating, as long as you can get 65 gallons of that first hour recovery. Okay, mechanical or flexible connectors. This is something that has been seen a lot of. The flexible connector from your bathroom exhaust fans. There is a 14-foot limitation on the flexible connector. Okay, anything beyond 14 foot has to be hard pipe. Okay, there's been some interpretation, some argument that you can go 14 feet with your flexible connector, then put a 2-foot piece of hard pipe, and then go another 14 foot or however long with the flexible connector. Can't do that. It's only a 14-foot limitation for that flexible connector. And I'll put the commentary up there for you. And the commentary reads that the length is limited to 14 feet to reduce the probability of the material being ruptured or by impact of puncture, and to control the amount of material that could be exposed to fire. So that commentary is basically the ICC interpretation of that code, which means that flexible connectors can only be 14 feet in length, and then any length after that has to be a hard pipe. Clothes dryer exhaust. We've seen in 2014, the Georgia amendments increased the distance for a dryer exhaust from 25 feet to 35 feet. But you also have to take into account the bends and the turns. If you're using a 4-foot pipe, and inside the code there's a chart to show you how many feet they give a bend. But if you're using a 4-inch dryer exhaust, and you go to a 90, that 90 equals 5 linear feet. Okay? An elbow equals 2.5 linear feet. If you're using a 6-inch pipe, your elbow is 1 foot and 9 inches, and I believe your 90 is 3 feet. Okay? So keep in mind that when your mechanics are running those exhausts, that they have to take into account the bends and the elbows into that incorporated length. So when we go out to measure, we're going to pull the tape from where it leaves the house, back to the first bend, and then we're gonna add on whatever that bend is, and we're gonna move to the next long length of pipe and then down, and, to get our 35, so.
Now,
Yes,
can you still go up through the roof with a drive?
yes, you can.
Okay.
I would not recommend it, but.
I understand, but sometimes you don't have to.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure can, as long as you stay within 35 feet, but you can go straight up. Closed dryer and saws, this is a new requirement in 2014, that you have to label, on that box that says, hey, this is, you got 25 feet from here to exit, you've got 35 feet from here to exit the house. So there is a label required. Whew. I'm tired, I'm with that job. Energy conservation, the energy compliance certificates, those are required to be put inside the panel or at the panel. This is also part of the Georgia amendments to the International Energy Conservation Code. The code does say that this certificate needs to be filled out completely, which means we have to have R values, U factors, fenestration rating, your duct blower test, and your door blower test, and your duct blaster test. All that information has to be on there, and the inspector's going to verify that, whether it passed or failed. Now, you have an exception. If you were using isonine spray foam to cover your attic, okay? At that point, your HVAC system becomes part of the building envelope. It's inside the building envelope, okay? And when it's inside the building envelope, it doesn't fall underneath the duct blaster requirements. You'll have to have the energy sheet, but you don't have to have the duct blaster. You do have to have the blower volt test, but you don't have to have the duct blaster if your unit is in the attic and your roof is part of the building envelope. Okay, does that make sense? Y'all want to know that? Attic knee walls. This is something that I think a lot of contractors just don't know. So I'm going to help you know here. You are required to have an R19 value in your attic knee wall, which means that you should have your attic knee wall should be comprised of 2x6 walls. Okay, so you can put an R19 mat in the back. Now, if you do it at a 2x4, then you've got to meet the additional value for R19, because you're only going to be able to put R13 in the 2x4 wall. And you've got to pick up the rest of that R5 value in the back of behind that. Now, you can use foam board, but foam board does not meet fire code standards. And that's why we require OSB. There's a flame spread that you have to have there. The foam board does not carry a flame spread rating that is allowable by code. The bubble wrap that goes on the back. It's a thin sheet of bubble wrap with a full backing. It's got a R5 value or an R6 value, something like that, but it does not meet flame spread ratings. So for attic knee walls, you should at least have, at best case scenario, you should have a 2x6 attic knee wall backed up with OSB or similar material with your insulation in that cabin. Okay?
What if you use
the foam doesn't meet the flame spread rating for the fire code. So you need to use OSB or similar material.
I'm saying if I'm foaming the roof line, that inside attic wall.
Exactly, yes. So if you're foaming the roof line, then yes, it's a non-issue. But if you're blowing in attic, whatever, you do have to have it behind it. Okay, so yeah, I mean there's so many factors that play into it. But just in basic, not everybody uses the foam. So in most cases, if you're having to insulate those walls, then you need to have those. Oh, we see this. I see this every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Use of a foam fire foam, which actually catches on fire. I don't know if you've ever stuck a match to it, but it lights up and it holds a flame. You can light a nice cigar with it. But when the guys are foaming, they're putting a bead that is probably a good inch thick down that T-wall or down that corner. And when your drywall contractors come in, they're gonna cut every bit of that foam out. They're gonna take the corner of a 2x4, they're gonna just run it right up, or they're gonna take their little machetes, and they're gonna run it right down the side of that foam and knock it out of that cavity. When you use that stuff, guarantee you're going to have a leaky house because you're not meeting your energy requirements because that foam is going to be knocked out. You're going to have toilets. So the code says that it has to be sealed. Okay? My preference says we should use caulk so that it doesn't affect that board. But when we go in to do the inspection and we see that seal, we're going to give you a chance, and what happens after that, happens after that, okay? My preference is that we use caulk, but I don't enforce my preference, okay? But just understand that, you run the risk of those cavities being damaged, okay? And that's, whether you want to pass that on to your homeowner or not, that's up to you. But it's something that we see common. I'm not saying that we're going to fail you for it. If we see a void, we're going to give it a fail, okay? But if we see foam in the wall, we're not going to fail it, all right? The contractors use what they use, and that's okay as long as it's sealed. That's what we're looking for. Code says it has to be sealed. That's all we need. Air duct seal, points there that have to be sealed. Mainly we're looking. We're not there when they're actually installing. So in most cases, we can tell where they use mastic around the connection to the boots and registers. But those seams on the inside, those absolutely have to be sealed. The system has to be sealed. Typically, we'll go up in an attic on the final. We'll turn on the system and we'll feel around it and see if we can feel the air coming out of the plant. Okay. Insulation markers always been there. Keep using them, but it is something that we miss on. That's all I got. Any questions that you want to get handled here? If not, we'll handle everything out in the field. I appreciate you guys' time. I appreciate you giving me the extra hour, unfortunately. We will give you 4 CEUs since we kept you here until 12:30. But I appreciate your time. I'm going to hang around this for a few minutes. I do have an appointment over in at the office that I got to get to, but I'll hang out just a few minutes in case anybody has any questions. But again, please, if you leave with anything today, please leave with the understanding that we want to help you. We are here to help you be better builders, better contractors, give your customer a better product. And we're going to tell you everything we know. We're going to show you everything we know, and we're going to get through this together. Okay?
Make sure you sign in before you go. Real quick, I need to see Bobby, Irwin, Clint, Gant, and Jeff Squire before y'all leave, please.
Again, thank you all for coming. Thank you for your time today.